more aligned to what the IRS is an organization that must be organized and operated. Notice the two. That's what I'm talking about. Your organization papers must be organized and operated exclusively for exempt purposes, as set forth in section 501c3 in the tax law. So you better know what those exempt purposes are, because you might be running counter to those purposes. And look at this next one. None of its earnings may, and this is a word you should learn, inure or go to any private shareholder or individual. None of its earnings may inure, go to any private shareholder or individual. Now, it's not saying that you can't pay people. It's not what it's saying. It's a little bit more complicated than that. But if it can be shown that the primary benefits are individuals, certain individuals, then you will be in violation of your tax status. Yes, sir.
So are you saying that if I had a board, because I know that it requires a board, that I can't pay the members of the board?
That is what I'm saying. That is what I'm saying. A board member of a not-for-profit organization cannot receive compensation. Can you get reimbursement for your expenses?
Yes.
Yes. Can you be paid to be on the board? No. Can a board member be paid under a private corporation?
Yes.
Yes. Yes, sir.
So if a board member, let's say you need an electrician to do some work for your organization, and a board member is an electrician, can you hire that?
See, now you're getting into the issue. Okay, he said, here's a question. A board member's on the board is an electrician. You need electrical work done. Can you hire a board member? Answer the question.
No.
Yes or no?
No.
Yes.
Yes, you
Yes,
can.
you
Maybe.
But technically,
Maybe. The answer is maybe. The answer is maybe. And the question is how? And how do you know that that price is a fair, competitive price?
Because you bid it.
Oh, so again, I'm talking about maybe. The question is how? How? Let's say he's the lowest bidder, and he's going through a process, and he didn't vote
Right.
on giving it to himself.
Right.
Conflict of interest. Conflict of interest. Make sure you note that those 2 words, 3 words. Conflict of interest. Conflict of interest. He is a board member. As a board member, you're responsible to make sure that the organization follows all of the rules and laws of the taxative status and does not violate them and carries out its role in the public arena. And that you're going to make sure that no earnings may inure to any private shareholder or individual. Okay? That's what I'm saying. Maybe. And how do you do that? And what precautions do you have to put in place to protect the organization, protect the other person? Okay? I'm not saying you can't. I'm saying maybe. All right.
But given all of that, therefore your recommendation would be that that person not be a member of the board, so that there is no evidence or of conflict of interest.
In most cases, that would be my recommendation. Let's say you're in a small community on an island.
With five people.
See,
With 5 people.
See, I'm talking about a situation. See, you lied. That is the situation I was in not too long ago. Small community on an island, and I can give you the island, but I don't want to say it, and there are not many choices of board members and workers. What do? Go out, pay expensive to get somebody else? There are ways to handle it. All I'm saying is, the best way is don't, but sometimes it doesn't make sense. Sometimes it doesn't make sense. Then you gotta handle it another way. Okay, I don't wanna get into the specifics on it, but I'm just letting you know. Yes.
What about if the board member had two hats? Like a manager and a board member
Manager of
of,
something in the organization?
yes,
How did they become a manager in the organization?
well,
What did they do first?
they became a board member.
So how did you then decide that they were the best person as a manager? And who voted on that process? And maybe they got that manager position because they were a board member. And maybe you were trying to really pay them on the side by giving them the manager position. Okay, all I'm saying is not saying that it cannot happen, but the issues begin, the clouds. And so you go to a foundation and you say, you know, we're a public organization, we're not trying to serve anybody. And they said, well, give me the names of your board members and your highest paid contractors. And they see that the board members and the highest paid contractors are starting to mix. And you're getting foundation money, and the foundation has to get their money out to the public good. And all of a sudden, or it may not be that it's the board member's company, but it's the board member's wife's company, or their son's company.
Conflict.
You start to see what the issues are and how that's different because you have now decided you wanted to become a 501c3. And as a 501c3, you have to operate according to exempt purposes and you have to make sure of that. Yes, I'm going to try and move on because we can get
So you
stuck
wouldn't
there.
have the executive director on the board?
Next year. If voice, no voice, no vote. May voice,
They
but no
can
vote.
be on the board as an ex officio, but they cannot be a voting member because that's a conflict. Again, as a private corporation, they can be on board. As a not-for-profit, if you think about what the board's role is, then it becomes a conflict if they are a voting member. Okay, so I know y'all thinking of this. I remember doing this workshop in Dallas, Texas, with a bunch of pastors. And they believe, most of them believe that as pastors, that first they hear from God. I'm not doubting that. That God told them to set these not-for-profits up. God told them to be executive director and the chairman of the board. I said, the pastor, God may have told you that, but the IRS is still going to take you to jail if you do it. I'm not saying disobey God. I'm understand the consequences. Follow God, but understand that there are laws of the land. You may simply have to go to jail for what God told you. It's okay. Just know who you follow. Okay. Let's keep on. This issue, by the way. What's going to start to happen as we go on? A lot of these things are going to they're just going to get clearer and clearer and clearer and clearer. This is just when you get to the application form, it's going to be like, whoa, now I got it. Okay, all right. This is just a background. This is so you can understand where we're going. You may not be an action organization, which means you cannot be doing political campaigns and stuff like that, or be promoting a particular political campaign, but you can promote an issue policy. If the issue is abortion or whatever, you can support an issue. You cannot support a campaign, and that's a fine line. That is a fine line, and all I just say is be careful. And you cannot have political signs on your building. okay? Because it becomes an issue. Okay, and you are eligible to receive tax deductible contributions. Someone talks about getting money from individuals. Tax deductible contributions. This is one of the things you can get as a 501c3. If someone gives you a donation, that donation could be tax exempt. I said could be. Give me an example, Sam. If I can do it. Yeah, come on, Sam. You can do it. Just give me an example of a contribution that's not taxable.
Yeah, I'm thinking about automobiles, but I'm not sure.
Okay, let's do this. We're selling dinners. No, that's not a good one. We're selling cookies to raise money.
Girl Scouts.
No, regular cookies. And someone bought the money. And they said, I need a receipt for my contribution because you're a tax exempt organization, right? You're a 501c3.
Benefit from.
Okay. So is all of the money not deductible? Or is all of it deductible? Yes.
Yeah, the portion that is over fair market value is deductible.
Correct. You have a dinner. You charge tickets. You charge $50 tickets. Cost you $25 for the food. $25 is deductible. That's the way it works. Yes, sir.
That's kind of resonated in my mind backwards, because he said the portion that is above fair market valuable can be deducted.
Yes.
In my mind, I was thinking, if, I'm gonna use the cookie example. If we made some cookies and it cost us $3 to make them cookies, and we sold them cookies for $3.25, then the $3 wouldn't be taxable, the 25 cents would be.
No. Let's look at the person who's buying the cookies. They give you $3. All right.
25
And
cents.
they give you $3.25. They can use 25 cents. They can put 25 cents as a contribution on the tax return.
Okay.
You can use all the money. That's not the issue. The question is the contributor. Tax deductible contribution, that deals with the person giving the money. Okay? Not how it's received. Okay? All right.
Question?
Yes.
Not being an action organization, but being involved in possibly influencing legislation. What percentage of your, I forget, you know this, percentage of the activities toward, like say for instance, gun legislation? What percentage of your activity, it's a percentage of substantial, was the term used on the slide before that. So how, does the government give you a actual number in terms of the percentage of time?
Yeah, there is. I don't know what that is. But what you need to do is, you'll have to actually go to the tax code. Let's say you want to do a lot of supporting certain kind of legislations. It might be 35% or something like that. But there is in the tax law a percentage. Okay?
All right, thank you.
All right. And I'm not sure what the percentage is, but you just need to know that most of that is going to be a problem. All right. All right. You must be organized to operate for the benefit of a private, to not be organized, I'm sorry, for private interest. Okay, again, these are things very clearly. And we repeated this again, okay? If the organization engages in an excess benefits transaction with a person having substantial influence over the organization, an excise tax may be imposed on the person and any organization manager agreeing to the transaction. What does that mean? Let's say you do want to hire your board member to do work for you, and you have figured out that they're going to be the best person, and the best person and they're the most reputable. However, they charge you 1.5 times as much as they would normally charge. And let's say that happens often. Then, the excess benefit transaction, there would be an excise tax that would be levied on the person and the organization. Managers. On an organization's managers agreeing. Now, when that kind of stuff starts to happen, and it starts to hit the paper, you know, this idea of transparency and all this, that's a good thing, and it also can be a not so good thing if you're doing bad. If you're doing good, it's no problem. If you're doing bad, you're a public organization now, you see. We can come in and scrutinize your records. We can ask to see your minutes of your meeting. They can ask to see the minutes of your meeting. Did you hear what I said?
They gotta take minutes.
And you're required to show them. Transparency is a good thing, as long as you're doing good. What time is it, Sam? 10:30, okay. We said we'd take a quick break. What I want to do is, I want to get a little bit further, actually. I want to get right to, we're going through the actual form 1023. And then we're going to break and go to the rest part. So I'm going to go quickly, because all of this, 90% of this stuff, what you're going to do is, when you're filling out the form, you're going to see the stuff pop up again, but in a specific question. First, you're going to find out a number of things by doing this. One thing you're going to find out, it is not as hard as you thought it was. And then the second thing you're going to find out is, it's harder than you thought it was. Okay, some things are not as hard, but some things are going to be more complex. So, let's look at it. Part 1, basically, you can see identification information. You got to have your EIN number. The month the annual accounting period ends. Everybody knows what that means? Your what period? It's also called your fiscal. Fiscal spelled F-I-S-C-A. The difference between fiscal and physical is what?
Physical dealing with health and anatomy.
Or the actual. What's physical? Fiscal mean?
Related to time, related to time.
It's where you choose to begin. It's your accounting period. Some people have their fiscal year start in September. Why?
Could be a school or something like that.
Could be according to school. So that might be easier in terms of your accounting year. Also, September is what month? What happens in September in the government?
Started the fiscal year.
That's the government's fiscal year. If you have government contracts, you might want to do that. So, but you choose that, and you will choose that on your articles of incorporation. You will state when your fiscal year is, or your accounting period. Okay, I'll stand over here. All right, are you represented by any authorized representative? In other words, are you filling this out, or is an attorney filling this out? Easy so far, right?
So you, excuse me, before you go a little further, so your fiscal year is still a 12-month period, right?
It's still a 12-month period. So if it's September, it's September to August. And you just say, 9 to 8 or something like that. You have an attorney. Did you pay anybody to do this? Interesting question. Yes or no? Organization's website, email. No. Easy so far, right? Now, certain organizations are not required to file information, an information form 990 or 990 EZ. If you are granted tax exemption, are you claiming to be excused from filing the 990 now? Or are you gonna have to file your 990? Now, the only way you're gonna be able to answer this is, you gotta know if you're excused from 990. The organizations that are excused are organizations that don't receive a certain amount of money during the year. I can't remember what it is. I don't know. Do you remember, Sam?
$25,000 less.
Might be $25,000
$25,000
or less. If you don't receive $25,000 in revenue, there is a certain amount. Again, this is why you have to. It's easy, but then it's not easy because it requires you to know information that's not always evidence. If you don't think you're going to get $25,000, then you say no, because then they won't send the form to you and they won't be looking for it. But if you say yes, then they're going to send the form and they're going to be looking for you later. Okay? The 990 is where you report the information of what happened in your organization, not just how much money you made, but what you did with the money you made. They incorporated or formed. Put that down. Was it incorporated or formed? And most of you may know that. So right now, somewhat easy. The one thing that you may not know is whether you should fill out the 990 easy or 990. Most of you are going to make a lot of money, so you're going to have to fill the 990. Okay, that's right. Praise the Lord. Okay, so now this is about the organization structure. Are you a corporation? Are you a limited corporation? Are you unincorporated? Are you a trust? Now, what's interesting about this is anything other than a corporation, you're going to have issues. You're going to have special filing to be tax exempt. Most of you are probably going to say you are a corporation. And notice what it says, if yes. Can anybody see that close enough to you? Can you read that, what it says for yes? If yes, yes. What does it say?
It says, if yes, attach a copy of your articles of incorporation showing certification of filing with the appropriate state agency. Include copies of any amendments to your articles and be sure that they also show state filing certification.
Okay, so remember we talked about you're going to have to include this information. One of the first things you got to do is you got to send your state certificate of filing, saying we are incorporated. Look at number 5. Would you read number 5? Somebody else?
Have you adopted bylaws? If yes, attach a current copy showing date of adoption. If no, explain how your officers, directors, or trustees are selected.
Interesting. So, we talked about the articles of incorporation, we talked about the bylaws, and what's going to be even more obvious as you go along, there are going to be certain things that better be in these articles and these bylaws. That's why you're sending them. One, they got to make sure you are incorporated. Second, you do know how you're going to operate, and they want to know, and they're going to look, and they're going to read, how are your officers selected? Who are they? Okay, so far so good, right? Not difficult. Listen to this. The following questions are designed to ensure that when you file this application, your organization, your organizing documents contain the required provisions to meet the organizational test under Section 501c3, unless you can check the boxes in both line 1 and 2. Your organizing document does not meet the organizational test. Do not file this application until you have amended your organizing documents. Now, remember what I said about filing your organization documents, that you have to know the issue of what's in the code before you file them? Because if you don't have certain things in your documents, you can't even file this form. You get it? Okay, so now all of that, you understand why we said what we said. Yes.
The question just on number 5, your board, does it have to be a certain mixture President, can you have all family members on your board?
No.
Next question.
Now, I say no, but when we go down this application, that question, keep that question in your mind. Can you have family members on your board?
Can I,
Or, no, I'm gonna say any family members. I'll do it even broader. Can you have any family members on your board? Is the question, right? All right, so let's go through the application, and we'll keep that little question in mind, and as we go through. Now, we again talked about the issue of inuring to benefit. Might that be a problem? Okay, so the first question, you gotta answer number 2, yes. You gotta check off number 2. What is number 2? The section 501c3 requires that your organization document states your exempt purpose, such as charitable, religious, and enlisted. Check the box to confirm that your organizing documents meet this requirement. Describe specifically where your organizing documents meet this requirement, such as a reference to a particular article or section in your organizing document. Now, again, what I said is, whoever helps you write your organizing documents need to know this. It has to be stated in it that it is formed for a charitable purpose. And the best way to do it is say it exactly like that. If it doesn't state that, you can go no further. Number 2, section 501c3 requires that upon dissolution of your organization, your remaining assets must be used exclusively for exempt purposes, such as charitable, religious, educational, and scientific. So, not only must you be established for charitable purposes, if you have equipment and you're going out of business, you cannot simply take them yourself.
We'll sell them,
Or simply sell them, unless you're going to sell them and pay off debts related to the organization. Did you hear what I said?
Say it one more time.
If you form a 501c3, you have equipment, cars, vehicles, computers, property, and you go out of business. What they want to see is a clause in your documents that states, check because I won't finish reading it, check the box on line 2A to confirm that your organizing document meets this requirement by express provision for the distribution of assets upon dissolution. You must have in your organizing documents a statement that says, upon dissolution, all assets of the property will be transferred to a tax-exempt organization and will only be used for those purposes. That must be stated in your organizing document because you won't be able to check that. And they wanted to see where, the page and paragraph of where it is. Do you get it? Do you understand now why, even before you form those documents, someone must know the provision of a 501c3? Or, when you go to file your 501c3, you won't be able to do it. Is it clear? So, we haven't gotten very far, but I'm sure you got that, right? This is any questions so far? Yes.
Would these, like articles and sections, these clauses be in your articles of incorporation or in your bylaws?
They should be in your articles of incorporation. Now you will be, and notice what they are saying. Your organizing document. Your organizing document. The organizing document is your articles of incorporation. Articles of we're getting gone. Okay? These need to be in your articles. They can also be in your bylaws. And usually what you're going to see is that information repeated. in your bylaws. But you're sending them both anyway, you see. You're sending in both your articles and your bylaws. Okay. We're clear so far? Okay. I'll be able to do this easy. Okay, so the issue is really on number 1 and 2, and I'll move out your way. Okay. So now you've completed section 1, section 2, section 3, section 4. They want you to give some copies of state what you're going to do. If you've already been incorporated for a while and you have evidence of your work, they want you to attach information that describes what you've been doing or what you plan to do, and to attach information. And notice what I have in yellow. Remember, this application, if this application is approved, it will be open to public inspection. Okay? So give a narrative of what you have done, if you've been in place, or what you are doing, if you are operating now, and, notice, and what you plan to do. Now, what might they be interested, what are they gonna, why do they want that information? What are they gonna be looking for?
Where are you getting funds from the city donation?
That what you say your organization do, they can measure to the work that you're actually doing. If I say I'm running the tennis group for young kids, and I'm over there doing football.
Well, it's not, that's not as much an issue whether you do. If you're still working with kids, let's say you want to do tennis group for kids.
Right.
But you're selling ice cream. Or let's say what you want to do is you want to support so-and-so's campaign.
No.
Okay? So they want to know, and you should be able to show, and you should be able to describe that the activities, the future activities, conform to tax-exempt activities. Remember, this is an application for tax exemption. So the issue is making sure your activities are within the parameters of allowed activities of a tax-exempt organization. That is reason. And that's why you need to have someone with an eye who understands what are the parameters of activities. If you don't know, you might inadvertently, how you write things, might write it in a way that it can be construed that it's not tax exempt. You're gonna be giving money to everybody in the community? You can't do that. Okay? Yes, sir.
So even in that part 4 narrative description, right? Even the way you raise funds for your organization should be in that part. Like you get donations and things like that.
You're gonna get donations, what you're gonna do, how you're gonna get, but you're gonna actually get that even more somewhere else. Okay. But yes, but basically they wanna know what you're gonna do. And your key is make sure those activities conform to tax exempt activities. That is the issue. Okay? This is an application to determine if you are a tax exempt or if they're gonna give you tax exempt status. Don't ever forget that. And don't ever forget some of the basic things. Now look at this number 4. So that's number 4. Now we're number 5. List the name, titles, and mailing addresses of all your officers and trustees. Notice what the next sentence. For each person listed, state their total annual compensation or proposed compensation for all services to the organization, whether as an officer, employee, or other position. Use actual figures if available. If none, enter none, no compensation is or will be paid. If additional space is needed, attach a separate sheet. That is almost a trick question. If you say anything other than none, you are going to need to do a whole lot more explaining. Because no officer should be serving for compensation, you will disqualify yourself. I guarantee you. If you put in there, even if you are thinking it, even if you are thinking it, I recommend, if you haven't done it yet, that you say no, none, and that you get consultation in terms of how you might do that. How might you use that board member? And you're gonna see later on, it gets even more. So this is first real simple. Yes, Sam, were you getting ready to say something? This is real simple. It gets even more. So now they just talk about compensation. Now, let's look at this. Now that was just board persons. It says now list the names, titles, and mailing addresses of each the highest paid employees.
We say 5 highest.
The 5 highest paid employees who receive or will receive compensation more than $50,000 a year. Why didn't you put that information?
Can I just ask a question?
Yes.
Does this refer to people who would work for the organization?
Yes,
as well?
employees.
So wouldn't there be, like, the director of a school would be somebody
Yes.
who would be compensated?
Right.
So we wouldn't want to put none.
No,
Okay.
you need to put information here.
Okay.
So now, and by the way, if you don't put any compensation, that would be an issue. Yeah, yes.
You said, why would they want that? Because now these people actually work for the organization and they have to pay taxes.
Yes, but let's say you're gonna start a school of 10 people, and you expect the first year you're gonna have 10 kids, and the director is gonna be paid $200,000. That raises an issue. And it gets even more interesting if anybody else in that list are related to him or her. But first I want to go, it's interesting how they give this information, because I know where they're going. I know that would be an issue. If you don't know where they're going, when you start to go down, you're gonna see how all of a sudden this stuff's like, oh, now I gotta, So you need to give their actual compensation and what that's made. You should have some information there.
Question.
Yes, sir.
So, in other words, when you start your CEC, if you don't have, when you have to have all this information, employees and all of that.
You need to have an idea.
Yeah, okay, so
Isn't that interesting?
So it could be an estimate, or?
It could be an estimate. Who receive or will receive, or will receive. So, wow, you just thought you were just filling out this little form. Now you gotta have some real idea of how it's going to work. And how much you might pay people.